It has been 39 years since Congress has taken action to change the Social Security. So, some House Democrats are hoping to change that with a bill to improve benefits that have been revamped and reintroduced in Congress. This Tuesday, the Social Security Subcommittee held a hearing to consider a proposal that's called the Social Security 2100 Act.
After the President spoke, and I spoke after, then President Obama, he was back to my right. And I went back and I made sure I was talking on his left ear because it was all he was down the hallway. And I whispered what I said. How in God's name anybody heard it, I have no idea. And I shouldn't waste your time and tell you this, but we were going to go from there over the Department of Transportation.
Bill that drove up prices, made supply chain problems even worse. Not a single Republican supported it, and Democrats now want to end the year with another massive spree that would make it even worse. The whole country understands that Democrats own this mess. They have seized one-party control of the economy, so you better believe that they'll have one-party accountability for the resulting nightmare. The president and his allies are badly upside down in overall approval ratings, upside down on the generic ballot, upside down on the economy, and the more the men and women of this country learn about the reckless taxing and spending spree that Democrats are planning next, the less they want it or anything close to it. Democrats have wanted to transform the country alone. They want to print and borrow trillion after trillion on their own. They want to create even more inflation on their own. So, as Republicans have made clear for months, they will have to own a debt ceiling increase as well. This week, the House and Senate have reached a bipartisan agreement to make that happen. As the Democratic leader said yesterday, the Democrats are, quote, willing to carry the burden, and so they will. We've reached an agreement on a one-time, one-shot statutory process that will enable Democrats to raise the debt limit at a fixed dollar amount, which they will specify. Much like the vote on an arms sales resolution that occurred yesterday and the Congressional Review Act vote that will occur today, this will be a standard expedited process at a simple majority threshold established by law. Democrats will get one shot at this. They won't be able to add any other amendments, and every single Senate Democrat will have to put their name to the gigantic dollar amount of debt they're prepared to pile on the American people.
According to the chair of the subcommittee, the hearing marks the 8th Capitol Hill session on the issue since 2019. The bill is the latest version of the 2100 Social Security Act, and it was introduced in previous sessions of Congress. So as Washington lawmakers push to accomplish a host of items on their agenda before year-end, people hope the bill will have momentum in 2022. The bill currently has 195 co-sponsors, all of whom are Democrats. To address that shortfall, lawmakers can implement benefit cuts, tax increases, or a combination of both. The new Social Security 2100 Act includes a host of provisions aimed at increasing benefits while adding more revenue through additional taxes on the wealthy. The bill will not include ideas like raising the retirement age. It would also provide a benefit increase for new and current beneficiaries. Folks, while speaking about inflation, Joe Manchin said that the unknown we are facing today is much greater than this aspiration bill, and that we've got to make sure we get things right. We can't afford to continue to flood the market as we've done. Manchin's comments comes as Chuck Schumer is keeping pressure on his own members to try to meet his deadline for passing the bill before Christmas. The Biden administration has argued that the bill would help combat rising costs under inflation, and Democrats are still in negotiations with the parliamentarian, who offers guidance on if legislation complies with budget rules, as well as the others. In addition, Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema have not said if they would support the bill, and other Democrats have raised concerns about specific pieces. Because Democrats are using budget reconciliation to try to pass the bill, they need a total unity from all 50 members of their conference. The Senate has already cleared a temporary spending bill that would keep the lights on at federal agencies through February 18th. The House has also approved the 2022 annual defense bill. But more stimulus payments are definitely necessary, and President Biden must send out and President Biden must send out more stimulus payments this year. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments down below.
Good morning, everyone. It has been a year of unprecedented crises because of Joe Biden and House Democrats' failed leadership. The American people do not trust Joe Biden, and time after time, with every issue he touches, he makes the problems facing American families worse, exacerbating all of these crises that our constituents are forced to bear. And his sinking poll numbers from the start of this year to today are proof of that. Due to the Democrats' reckless tax and spend policies and their unconstitutional mandates, hardworking families are struggling under the skyrocketing cost of groceries and basic goods due to inflation and the empty shelves in local stores across America. Port congestion is getting worse, which means not only gifts for family and friends are sitting on boats, but the backlog is hurting our small businesses that are trying to get their products to market during the busiest season of the year. We call this Joe Biden's holidays. I've seen firsthand how this is impacting families in my district and small businesses in the North Country. Another crisis that Democrats continue to ignore is the crisis at our southern border. Since Joe Biden became president, we've had over 1.6 million encounters at the southern border. And with this surge at our border, there's an unthinkable amount of fentanyl and fentanyl-related substances pouring into communities, enough to kill every American 7 times over. Think about that. Enough fentanyl to kill every American 7 times over. Here to talk about what Republicans are doing, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues Bob Latta and Morgan Griffith. You'll first hear from Bob Latta from Ohio. Bob?
Thank you. Thanks, Elise. And thank you all very much. You know, the Centers for Disease Control reported that in the United States in a 12-month period ending in April 2021, there were over 100,000 drug overdoses, with 2/3 of these caused by synthetic opioids. During the same period, there were over 5,585 drug overdose deaths in my home state of Ohio. 5,585 lives lost. The influx of overdoses can be directly attributed to the isolation due to the pandemic, and as Elise mentioned, our crisis at the southern border. From October 2020 to September 2021, the Customs and Border Patrol seized 11,201 pounds of fentanyl. Now, the important thing to remember is that's what the Customs and Border Patrol were able to seize. We don't know how much more got across the border. And as was said, that's enough to kill 2.5 billion people, or the entire U.S. population, again, 7 times over. The cartels are to make small modifications to chemical compounding of fentanyl, making it harder for law enforcement to control. And fentanyl has become popular with illicit